Good afternoon, I'm Nikiwe Bigicha. We start with a developing story we're tracking for you this afternoon. Protesters are refusing to disperse from central Cape Town until they're addressed by Western Cape Premier Helen Zille. Their service delivery protest turned violent earlier this afternoon. Hundreds of demonstrators made their way from the city's station to the Western Cape Provincial Legislature, looting shops and stalls in St. George's Mall. They're demanding housing and a better service delivery. They're being led by a controversial former ANC councillor Andile Lili. He's blaming Zille for the looting, saying it was driven by desperation. Lili currently faces charges for throwing feces at Cape Town International Airport as part of another service delivery protest. Police say the situation is now under control. Well, for more on the story, we're joined from our Cape Town studio by Western Cape Premier Helen Zille's spokesperson, Zak Mbele. Mr. Mbele, afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So the protesters were demanding to see the Premier. Is she going to meet them or address them?
Good afternoon, Nikiwe. Well, what's interesting about this afternoon's, what can better be described as a riot, is that we had a designated official who was going to receive the memo that they were supposed to hand over. And a key thing to understand to the background of today's demonstration is that it follows on one that took place earlier on this month, also led by Loyiso Nkohla. And that memorandum was received by the MEC of Human Settlements, Bongekosi Madikizela. And he undertook to follow up on their memorandum and requested them to send more detailed information so that she wasn't just chasing up on vague demands, but could have useful information for his department
this afternoon, though, Zach, the protesters are demanding to see the Premier. Is she going to see them? Is she going to respond?
Nikiwe, this afternoon's riot is purely an act of political grandstanding. The intention is to create hype and to peddle rhetoric of a politically motivated nature. And in that instance, where there is no good faith on the parts of the organizers, in particular Loyiso Nkohla and his rhetoric, where he has actually incited people at a public meeting over the weekend to loot shops in the CBD, that is somebody that cannot be engaged with at that level.
Mm-hmm. Some of the protesters are claiming that the reason that they went on this rampage is because the Premier has ignored their pleas that people are going hungry. What is your response?
Nikiwe, if there had been follow-up as requested by MEC Madikizela from the demonstration of earlier this month, then those would have started being addressed, would have started being investigated, but we are yet to receive detailed information as a revised memorandum that can be followed up. Mm-hmm. There's simply no indication of an intention that they are willing to engage and to deal properly with the Western Cape government, so that where the grievances are, and undoubtedly there are always grievances in communities, those can actually be effectively addressed.
But you do concede that they have genuine grievances?
There are always grievances in communities, but what's also quite clear is that today's incidents, and many to come undoubtedly in the months leading up to the election, are parts of wave after wave of the ANC Youth League's ungovernability campaign, which they've always promised they're going to unleash.
Is this being unleashed by the ANC?
The ANC Youth League has certainly been the most strident voice in championing that they will drive and spearhead the ungovernability campaigns. And we know that Loyiso Nkohla is at least a former ANC Youth League leader before their provincial structures were dissolved.
But both these people, Andile Lili and Loyiso Nkohla, are former ANC leaders. So why do you think that the ANC is behind this?
No, they're ANC Youth League leaders and activists.
Mm-hmm. Well, Andile Lili has been suspended, as far as we're aware.
That's correct, but his association to the ANC does not dissolve with that.
Okay, so you blame the ANC for today's actions?
It's an ANC narrative. It's an ANC narrative of ungovernability and misinformation peddling rhetoric.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time, Western Cape. Helen Zille, spokesperson Zak Mbele.
News that moves. eNCA.com.